Over the last 20 years, I have coached hundreds of speakers on their presentation delivery. And while most are open to feedback and willing to rehearse, my clients have consistently voiced a major concern when it comes to presentation practice. I just don't have the time. Have you ever felt that way? Well, if you have, it makes sense. After all, you do have a whole other job to do outside of the single presentation you're about to deliver. It's probably rare that you're able to put aside all of the rest of your other work just to carve out time you need to rehearse for this one presentation. And many times, this talk is an add-on to all of your other responsibilities. And unfortunately, there isn't some special trick I can give you to how to determine the exact number of minutes you need to rehearse. But there is a formula that can help you gauge what's right for you so that next time you can plan ahead. Presentation rehearsal time should be determined by two factors. How high are the stakes for this presentation, and how formal is this presentation? Now, the stakes for your talk are high if the outcome really matters to your job or to your team or your organization as a whole. So think about what might happen if your audience takes or doesn't take the action after they hear your message. Will that matter? Here are some examples of high-stakes situations for talks. A presentation to a customer who has to determine if they're going to buy your product that will help you meet your own quarterly goal. Or a budget request to a senior leader whose yes gives your team the money that you need to develop new products and propel your company into a new market. A review of a new internal policy for your entire organization and a policy that everyone must follow if you're going to stay in legal compliance. Now, the stakes for your talk are low if the presentation won't make or break anything or anyone. Examples might be a routine update on projects for the quarter, a light and fun, entertaining talk to your colleagues about your favorite dessert recipe during a team retreat or an offsite, a review of your new product features to a customer who is already committed to purchasing. So the higher the stakes, the more run-throughs you need. And the lower doesn't necessarily mean no practice, but you can likely give yourself permission to practice less than you would if it was a high-stakes presentation. Again, I don't have a hard and fast rule to give you here to determine how many run-throughs you need, but considering the outcome's importance will help you find that sweet spot, the one that makes the most sense for you. So in addition to the stakes, you should also consider the formality of the presentation to help you determine how much rehearsal time you might need. A formal versus an informal presentation has everything to do with the setting and even the dress code. The more dressed up you and the audience are asked to be, a good chance the more formal the presentation is. So a formal presentation might include the boardroom, where the entire board and senior leadership team is sitting around a giant conference table, and maybe they're even all wearing suits. Or you are on stage for a presentation to a large audience, whether that's internal or external. One where you might not get away with wearing jeans and flip-flops. Or on the other hand, an informal presentation might be a talk you deliver virtually in the comfort of your own home, and you probably are pretty comfy on the bottom. Or lunch or coffee meeting with a customer where you're briefing them on a review of services that will likely turn into more conversations, so it's not really a presentation at all. The more formal the setting and the dress code, the more time you're going to want to set aside to rehearse. But just the same way we talked about low stakes and informal presentation just doesn't require as much preparation all of the time. So what you might want to do is relax a little bit more and not worry about getting every single word right. So high stakes plus more formal equals more rehearsal time. Low stakes and informal equals less rehearsal time. Every other combination of those two factors probably falls somewhere in the middle. Now, the stakes and the formality are mostly about external factors. Stakes are about the desired outcome that needs to stem from your presentation. Formal versus informal is about the setting and the dress code. But you should also consider some other internal factors when deciding how long to rehearse. So after you've plotted out your rehearsal time based on stakes versus formality, you might find that your answers to these questions I'm about to give you adjust your rehearsal time. Is this the first time that you are presenting the material? Yes? More rehearsal time. No? Less rehearsal time. Is the content new to you? Yes? More rehearsal time. No? Less rehearsal time. Are you nervous to present the material? Yes, more rehearsal time. No, less rehearsal time. Is the audience new to me? Yes, more rehearsal time, no, less rehearsal time. Because familiar audiences are usually a little bit more forgiving. Is this audience skeptical of either me or the content? Now, that can be a hard one to admit to yourself, but you've got to be honest. And if it's a yes, more rehearsal time. And if it's a no, less rehearsal time. Is the presentation more than 20 minutes? Yes, more rehearsal time. No, less rehearsal time. And then tally up those yeses. The more you have, the more time you need to rehearse. You might not always be sure of all of these answers. You might not even feel confident when plotting out the stakes and the formality. And if that's you, here's our motto when it comes to presentation rehearsal time. When in doubt, carve it out. Carve out some time you need to practice. Put it on your calendar well in advance so you know your time is protected. Remember, the higher the stakes, the more practice is needed. The more formal the presentation, the more practice is needed. The more yeses you have on those 6 internal questions, the more practice is needed. Now go, open up your calendar, and block out some rehearsal time. Break a leg.